Okay, let's maybe have a little bit of new notation here. Okay, so I'll skip the JVM for now, but one of the things you should get very used to is people endlessly drawing boxes which represent an array, and then rather than putting references, we just put an element inside the array, and then we have some notion of the index. Okay, so we can also, if I just make this a little bit bigger, there can be nothing here. Okay, this can be, for example, just null, at least in Java terms, there might be nothing here. Okay, you have that space. There is an index of 4, but there's nothing actually there. Okay, and we just understand these things here to be the elements of the array. Okay, now we have this idea of size. Well, we can see there are 4 elements, so size is 4, if you like 4 equals size, and at least you don't really use capacity that much, but it's good to know this array actually has a capacity of 5 capacity. Okay, when it comes to iteration, there are actually a lot of different things at play that you might want to achieve. One of the most basic things you want to achieve with iteration is, given an array with some elements, you want to start at the beginning, visit that element, do something, then move on to the next element, do the same thing, and over again. Okay. Again, this is just, read this as just some process. You're doing something, printing things out, whatever. And then you get to the end, there's nothing else. So you have completed the iteration. And the way to think about this is, well, you're visiting all parts of the array, or another way to put that is definitive. You visit all the elements. Okay, another strategy might be, we have our array again, some elements. Okay, we might actually not want to visit everything. We might actually visit, say, the first element, do some processing. Maybe we're asking a question. Is this name equal to Bob or something? And then we ask the question again. We get to the third element, we ask the question, and we find the answer we need. Okay, and then the iteration ends. We don't actually look at any more elements thereafter. Okay, and this is more of a selective or indefinite form of indefinite iteration. And typically what you're going to have is a combination of some kind of if-else statements on each iteration. Okay, but beyond that, iteration can be further complicated by, if we have another array, we have some elements. I really should have used copy and paste or something. We might actually start midway through the array and then continue. Okay, so we have to deal with multiple start positions. Okay. A lot of times you write loops, you're just going to start at the beginning and go all the way through, or start at the beginning and then go until you find something. But there's nothing stopping you at iteration is starting at, in this example, element or index number 2 instead of the first 2. Okay. It might not be immediately obvious right now, but you might want to reverse the direction of your iteration and start at the biggest index and then go all the way until there is no elements remaining. Okay, so another strategy you can have for iteration is to reverse the direction. This will actually become really important in the algorithms class, because there are certain algorithms where we do this. We actually start going backwards, and it's a really useful thing to have, especially when it comes to sorting and, I believe, shuffling algorithms. We do a lot of that. Okay, then there's one more thing that we might want to be able to do, and if we just have our last array, when we're iterating through, we might want to, okay, this is index 0. And we're going to skip over the odd indexes. Okay, so we step through the array instead. Okay, so we just don't bother looking at these, and then we eventually stop. So another strategy is you might step through the array in multiple elements at a time. Okay, so in this case, this is jumping 2 steps before it does any of the processing at each of these stages. Okay, so these at index 1 and 3 are ignored altogether. Okay, so when it comes to trying to go through these collections, you can sort of get the idea that we have a lot of different things we can possibly do. And these become a bit of a toolkit, really, for solving problems. Okay, sometimes, like I said, with reverse, strong hint for our algorithms class, that sometimes it's a really clever way to solve a problem is just to go backwards through a collection. But more on that in like a month's time. Let's not ruin the